So yeah, I hope everybody's enjoying this forum format. So again, just to reiterate, the whole intent of what we're doing with this, it's twofold. Yes, it's content, but you could go out onto the other stage where people are kind of giving you more direct kind of content, feedback from talks, things like that. But the purpose of this one, as I said, twofold. It's great that we see these charts. You can see what other people are doing in the industry. You can see what are kind of the same problems or different problems that people are having. But the second real reason for this is networking. So we're about to break for another break again after this. And one of the challenges that everybody always says is, I want to go to a conference for kind of review my processes, check out what competitors are up to, upskill, but I also want to build my network. But then it's really hard. Networking's hard, networking's boring, and like I'm standing there, it's much easier to whip out my phone and just do something on my phone than go up to talk to somebody. So the idea here is look at a face of somebody when they're asking a question or answering a question and go, okay, yeah, that's something I have in common, or that's something that I can go talk to that person about now. So that's kind of what this whole stage is about being a lot more, making that networking a lot more accessible and a lot more easy for you after this to go and talk to somebody instead of sitting on your phone, which is the much easier option. So anyway, with that kind of aside, this one is going to be about AI and AI in the workplace. So I might just delay another minute or two, or I'll get started. We're a slight bit ahead of time, which is, I think it's the first time when we've been running a conference we're ahead of time. But going to ask a couple of questions. It's the same format that you're kind of used to now at this stage. But I want to see who is using the latest kind of AI tools, and we're going to dig into what I mean because that's such a broad term. But are you doing it just kind of playing around in your own time? Or have you started adopting AI tools directly in what you're working on? Or you're still a laggard and you're kind of, I don't know what that's all about yet. So obviously AI is such a crazy broad term. We're gonna dig into that in a minute. Okay, so I'll give everybody just a few seconds. The QR code is on the side, so you can pop that open. Okay, so what I might do, I'm going to start with the no's, because I actually want to understand, is there any reason? Is it just haven't gotten around to it, haven't found a need? Or is there an ideological reason or anything else that's stopping you from playing around? So anybody want to raise their hand and start off with, who has said no? Okay, we have somebody here.
I think one of the main reasons is that I will be using company data into like generative AI tools, which I'm definitely not doing.
Yeah. And has that been a company-wide announcement? Do not use this. They're sucking in all our data, or is that more of each person is kind of deciding?
I think I just saw a company that did it, and they kind of messed up. So employees in other companies did it, and then data kind of got released, or their source code got released. And anyway, I try to be a reliable employee. So the company begged us not to do it, but we can still do it. It's not, nobody's checking on a laptop and say like, oh, you went to ChatGPT and you're using with our company data. Nobody's going to do that. So it stands on the employee not to do it, to don't release personal data. But the AI we created internal, it's not as good as the one that is on the other tools. So,
brilliant. So we're going to jump onto that internal, external bit in a second, but let's jump into the yes for work. So here we had an example where there's that fear of data leakage, of kind of you don't know where that data is going to go. Who is using it for work, and do you even think about that problem of data leakage? So can we get a few examples of people who are using it for work? Some hands. Okay, we have somebody here.
Thank you. Yeah, the company actually is really supporting AI for work. So we are using a couple of solutions from Microsoft at the moment, with a small group at the moment, just to see how everybody deals with. And it's amazing because it helps you even to to demonstrate your findings. So for researchers to create the deck to present to the executives. So it's very, very powerful. It's good. And also we use AI for some of our solutions as well. So at the moment we are working with IVR and chatbot using AI, and we have like almost 100 people working with AI at the moment in the company.
Awesome. And so is that a company-wide, or is it in the opposite of being told don't use it, or is your company actively saying use it, you speed up?
Yeah, like with moderation, because we are a regulatory company, so data leak is something very serious for us. You know, we are really compliant, and data protection is a huge thing for us. However, we found a ways to use AI, even though with Microsoft solutions for now. Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of trusting the vendor that
Yeah.
it's not going to get out.
leak,
Okay.
yeah.
Brilliant. Does anybody else have any cases of how they're using it for work? Any hands? Okay, we've got two people here. Sorry, we'll come to you next. No.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm using it for processing quite a lot of qualitative data from interview scripts and focus groups. So I've been putting samples into ChatGPT and asking it to pull out themes and then relate quotes to themes for the purpose of user research reports. And I shared the same concerns as the gentleman over there. So we have to try and sanitize the data before we put it in to make sure there's no names being mentioned or any sensitive information. But by and large, it's mostly generic questions about use of technology and use of products. So it's mostly fine, but we do need to be careful. And I would say the results of the method is mixed. Sometimes the quotes, the way it relates quotes and themes aren't wholly accurate. So you still have to go back and check everything and group your themes appropriately and do your due diligence with your research. But it's definitely a time saver. As a first draft of the research process for pulling out themes and getting quotes, it's very useful. And it saves a lot of time, I would say.
So even with the hallucinations or the problems, you still find it faster, even having to go back and double check it, than if you had to do it in your first.
And you can notice the errors pretty quickly if you have a keen eye for the way quotes are, and if you are familiar with it, especially if you've done the interviews yourself, you can immediately see that that quote doesn't quite relate to that theme or whatever. And even if there's a few errors, I mean, no one is gonna give out to you too much about it. They're just the same errors you could have if you were doing it manually. So yeah, I found it very useful.
Brilliant. So just pass it to the lady here.
Hi, well, you've kind of just stole my answer as well. But I'm coming from a UX lecturer side of things. So it's really interesting. We're trying to teach our students how to use AI, but discouraging them from using it for their assignments. So but we're basically saying the same thing. Even if you do use it, you have to double check it. Anyway, so I'm not sure if we're quite there yet, but it is very interesting to see the applications for it so far.
Okay. And is there anybody who's been flat out mandated you can't use it? Like, so it's not even just trying to be protective about it, but just can't use the tools? Yeah.
Not with my current company, but in the past, yes, because there was a data leakage, so they closed it and we were banned of using it.
And was there anything like, so the data sanitization that might happen before?
It was like a code leakage, so they just passed the code inside, and it was like a protected one. So, of course, I mean, there was a problem on that. The company was pretty big as well, so that's why
it got cut. Okay, brilliant. So let's move on to the next one, because AI is quite broad and nebulous. And just as we're chatting here, I realized I left out an incredibly obvious option. So code generation would be a very obvious option here. But what are the tools that you're using? So we've talked a lot about large language models, your ChatGPTs, your Claudes, your PAMs. You've got your image generation, so that's your Midjourney, your DALL-E. You've got your video generation, so Runway, Synthesia, embedded AI. So this is, I've separated out internal AI from embedded AI. So internal AI is something that you've built internally that you're using in your own products versus embedded would be like Notion, Office 365, as was mentioned here, or those kind of intercom. Great talk coming up tomorrow on how intercom built Fin, so do go see that. Or other. So yeah, code generation, I guess, would probably pop into other. So just give people a few more seconds to vote. Okay, curious. Have people heard or played around with video generation at all? Or is it's just because that's the one that's on zero? Show of hands, who has heard that you can actually just kind of create videos with prompts? Okay, so.
Yeah, so I work in the pharma industry. So a lot of the time they like having kind of a professional voice on a live website. But the reason why we haven't really gone for it is due to kind of like a disingenuous feeling from looking at those videos. So while it was a nice idea, we haven't really proceeded with that.
Yeah, there's still that uncanny valley.
Yeah, exactly.
That you get with the videos. It's close. It's really close. Has anybody seen the new Metaverse? Lex Friedman interviewing Mark Zuckerberg. Has anybody seen that? A couple of hands. So the metaverse is everybody's favorite joke, but it actually looks like a good product now. So do check out that video. So basically it's photorealistic and they say the uncanny valley has disappeared. It is like you are talking photorealistic to another person. So that, like if it really has gotten rid of the uncanny valley, that's an incredible achievement. Okay, so let's talk about the embedded AI. So we had Microsoft here. Who else is using, and can you give me a couple of case studies of what you're using embedded AI, so in Notion or, yeah, pretty much every app now has their AI product. So who has a case study that they're using? Nobody? Was it scratching your head or putting up your hand? Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the image generation then. Oh, sorry, did somebody?
Well, an example of like an embedded AI that we've been working on. So in Google Maps, when you have a shop, a small business, for example, we found that people don't usually spend a lot of time describing their business. So we just added a magic button that actually uses the information that we have about you to create a really nice description of the business, right? And what we found in A/B testing is the businesses love it, and actually the descriptions are far richer than they would have done. So very cool feature.
Awesome. No, it's a good example, and that kind of the embedded AI, the intercom chat. I think. I don't want to give too much away, but the statistics on how much time they're saving for a customer service rep when they're using AI to summarize your history. Like, so you know that very annoying when you get on a call, give me a few minutes to catch up on the chat. They just automate all that into a nice little summary, and it saves a huge amount of time. Okay, image generation, because we have probably a lot of designers in the audience. Are people using this just as a hobby, or has anybody actually gone to the point of using it as part of your jobs? Is there anybody has it? Okay, we have two people here. So we'll start here and we'll come to you.
I can start. First, we try to use it to kind of make like a fancier storyboards because the stakeholders are bored with the cartoons and that backfired big time. It didn't work at all. But now if you have to do some PowerPoints, sometimes I just ask, let's say, hey, I want to see a yellow Tesla in front of a red building. I can't find that image on Google Images. It will take me 5-10 minutes. Through like Midjourney or something, it looks pretty reliable and even stakeholders don't pick up on it. So it helps me to get my work done faster.
And you don't have to worry about the
and there is no risk, to be
copyright.
honest, yeah. So that works. That's what we use it for.
Excellent. Is anybody else doing that, like just quick kind of presentation slides or? Yep.
Hi, yeah, I can talk a little bit, not in my work, but about my personal project. There was time I want to create a logo for the Twitter account for my personal project. And so I tried to use some image generation. I want to create, yeah, I just mentioned the key elements and the name. I just maybe use this keyword. However, yeah, just the generated logos is not something I was really looking for, so I end up with a very simple way. Just use username as a avatar of the Twitter account. So, but I think maybe at some stage I can try again because the AI engines, they are evolving all the time. So maybe at a later stage they will give me something much better. Because yeah, I think the key reason I didn't use that was like I gave some certain word and I want that word to be part of the logo, but just none of the actual English character was there, so it's just end up with some weird character. Some of them looks like English character, and yeah, that doesn't make just not readable at all. So yeah, but I think I want to have a try after a period of time.
So it's kind of, there's some prompts, I guess, that you could learn that it's perfect for, and there's some things English. I think they're getting pretty good now, but definitely in the past it would just give you hieroglyphics or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Is anybody worried about that from the role perspective, that like Webflow just announced their AI, ChatGPT said do a scribble on a piece of paper and we'll code up we'll do a design and we'll code it up for you instantly. Is anybody actually worried about that at all, or do you all see it as a positive that's going to help things? Well, let's jump on to that question. Let's go with what you're most excited about. Like, what do you think is going to be the benefit of this? Is it that you're going to have increased capacity and speed, like the example here, where you just know, okay, it'll take me 5 minutes to find that, but if I just go and do it, it'll be done in 30 seconds, and I know it'll be better. Increased quality, unlocking capabilities. So what I mean by this is, a lot of people always complain there's too much work for design, there's too much work for research, there's too much work for, and there's so much too much work that work gets skipped. So actually, by having it become more easy or quick to do, you're unlocking more people to be able to do it. Or we'll replace work altogether. So nobody thinks that they're going to be able to sit on a beach sipping Mai Tais while an AI does their job for them. No. Okay, just on that last one, who has noticed by the companies that are using it that the expectation, the second you started using it and you started doing more, that suddenly the expectation for what you were expected to do increased as well? Yeah? Has anybody got an example? I know personally, like, I now think things take less time to do because I know how quickly it can be done in ChatGPT, so I just then expect more work to be done in the same amount of time. So is anybody... sorry, we'll come to you next.
Oh yeah, mine is really quick. I would recommend if anyone's using it and they're saving time, don't tell anyone because people will expect you to do more work. So I haven't told my boss that I'm using it for what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Mike's behind you.
So we are using for the research piece with the team. So now other stakeholders are asking for more research and user testing because we can present amazing results with dashboards and graphs and everything. And it's customized like 25% of our time with the research piece. So now even medium and small epics, everybody's like, oh no, let's do user tests. It's like, okay, then you need to kind of come on, step back, and no, it's not for everything that we do this, but it is really useful and more precise as well. You know, give you a more data insights quality, in my view, for now.
Yeah. I think the hiding will work for a small period of time. I think it's going to catch up to you, but hide while you can. Yeah, my opinion is that expectation is just going to grow. It's kind of the unlocking capabilities. More people are going to ask for research because it's quicker and it's easier to do. Yeah, increased quality, that was kind of lower. What are people's main concerns? Are you seeing a challenge with quality? So there was the Mid-Journey example, it's not good at English or letters, characters. Is anybody else worried? So there was a question, over here.
I guess it depends on the industry that people are working at. If you're working like with complex products, I don't think that will increase the quality of work because what you have to input there is already so complex that you're losing more time thinking about what you're inputting and the output is not Yeah, so I don't think it's increasing the quality. It depends on the industry that you're in.
And is that a challenge of the kind of the input window or the amount of data that you can shove in? Do you think in a year or two's time when you can put in like your whole company's data stream into it, do you think that will solve it? Or you think that there's always going to be a challenge when it's too big and too complex? So I'm seeing a nod, but
I'm not sure. Like I'm really not sure.
Yeah, because there's a company out there, and I'm guessing I know what the reaction's going to be. Simulated research. So instead of going and talking to customers, because that takes time, and we know we have to go quick. So why don't you just simulate customers and run your research with simulated users? So who thinks that that would be a good idea? Definitely speed things up. Okay, we have some people saying it'd be good, so let's go here. No, the guy in the corner there.
So something that so I work for an insurance company, and we have a very important persona on the claims side called claims adjusters. So they handle the claims, and it's a complex job, and it's hard to get time with them. But over, say, a period of 3 to 4 years, we've done hundreds of interviews with them. So something that I don't think it's unique, but we're taking all that research data, and you can build almost an internal LLM of all the questions and answers that you've got from them over the years in interviews, and you can create like a real live persona. So if you're on a project and you need to do some quick research, you can pump questions, do that, especially for development teams, where they'll make maybe assumptions on someone on how they work. You can actually ask this digital persona complicated questions, and they'll answer based on research that we've performed. So you get better answers, and it's better than the assumptions that some of the teams make. So there is value in it. I don't think it'll replace it entirely, but this kind of dynamic persona approach is definitely something that we're seeing some value with for speeding things up and just bringing research data together.
Okay, anybody else seeing value before I'm going to ask somebody, because I'm assuming 1 or 2 people are itching to give a retort. Anybody else see value? Okay, who wants to give why that's an absolutely terrible idea? Does anybody feel strong? Okay, we have somebody over here. So, no, I think it's great if it's working, but I'm just trying to get a bit of tension.
If it adds value, great, but fundamentally humans are individuals, and we have variability within ourselves. And LLMs, the whole basis of them is they go to the mean. And there is a huge concept within psychology, behavioral science, of regression to the mean. And when you only look at that mean, you are losing the variability that is important to understanding the human experience.
So is it a question, though, but if you are saying it's regression to the mean, well, it's the Pareto principle. I'm solving 80% of the problem. Yes, we lose the bits of the 20% on the outside, but I've got the chunk of it. So am I not just, because it's better than no research?
I mean, I actually think bad research is worse than no research personally, and that we have seen for hundreds of years that when we design for the edge cases, universal design, inclusive design, we do research with those populations, we fix things for everyone else and make things better for everyone else, the curb cut effect. The closed captions are used by people to learn languages. They're used so that they can watch TV while their spouses are sleeping, or their children are watching one thing and they're watching another and not being bored by Barney for the 50th time. There are lots of these cases where the thing that was designed for a very niche population makes life better for everyone. And if you don't have that variability in the data you're collecting, then you are never going to discover those things. And you are leaving out a huge part, as well as leaving out a huge part of the marketplace, if you are only designing for or doing research with the general population.
So I agree with your points. You're pitching a business case, or you're pitching for some funding, and somebody knows, well, there's this tool that will simulate our personas, because some company has gone out there and they've ingested a huge amount of data, and they go, we've got the perfect personas for fraud, we've got the perfect personas for all these. So
I will go back to the first speech this morning, the first presentation this morning. You have to validate that data. It's fine, use it as a starting point, but you better do a couple of interviews to make sure that that is the actual data out there and is truly representing. Because
So-
I have found with lots of things on ChatGPT and things like this, I'll ask it a question and it gets it completely wrong. And these are things that are verifiable. So you have to make sure that it's not where that persona data came from that's going into there, and check it to make sure. You can reduce the cost by checking with fewer people. But I'd argue most of the time we recommend at least starting your research with 6 people and seeing what happens from there. 6 interviews shouldn't cost you that much money.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. So I agree that small numbers give you kind of, even with 6, you can get directional insight, not validated, but directional. Who thinks the future is going to be more hybrid, like a kind of a, like is it, I don't think manual is the future. I just don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle. Management are going to know we can do things quicker. You can hide for a while, but not forever. Who thinks the future is more of a hybrid, or do you think shifting? Where's the balance? Is it more kind of 50-50, 80-20? Anybody have an opinion on what will happen in the future? Did you give a mic? No? Okay, here, Ed.
Yeah, I really like the idea. I think it's going to be hybrid. I think that there's going to be a class of problems that are kind of like incremental UX improvements, and you can just throw those at the machine, and it'll give you a reasonable signal on what you're doing. Okay, and then I think that actually will allow us to put a lot more of our human intuition into the more pivotal shifts, maybe in product or whatever that we want to achieve.
Cool. Anybody else have thoughts? We have one here, and I haven't heard anybody over this side in a while. So we'll start here because I'm feeling I'm standing over there too much.
I actually agree with your point very much. I think it's going to be a hybrid. We've already seen it. This isn't really in UX. This is more video side now. But for voiceovers, it's extremely popular, not just on social media, but just being able to change the speed of someone's talking, or being able to change their accent on where you're producing content, or just to make it sound more like who you're giving to a customer. I think it helps a lot. Even myself, it's not perfect by any means, but I think it's improving. Like, for instance, iPhone or any eye-related product, you have to actually type out eyeball as an eye, which is very funny. But, you know, I think it's definitely improving, and I think it's going to be a half and half. And I think it's a tool that we can use to benefit, you know, our UX process. But yeah.
Okay, so before I jump on to, I'm going to go into the what don't you like. Who thinks it's going to make things better? Because everyone said here that there's efficiencies and there's unlocking new capabilities. Who thinks it's a net win, all of these AIs that are coming out? Ooh, not much. Who thinks it's a net loss? And then we'll go to the undecideds. So sorry, net loss? Anybody else net loss? Okay. Who's undecided? That's 95% of you then, because nobody went either way on that. Okay, so everybody's sitting on the fence at the moment on this one. So, sorry, you had a point that you're going to make.
I would say if we talk about the tool, it's definitely brilliant, but if you look from a business perspective, we're totally missing any accountability. Right now, if I'm doing research or anything, it goes wrong, I know it's my responsibility, but I can't tell to my boss, well, the AI told me so, and you can't fire AI. So when everything works happy path, brilliant, but what the real life scenario, if it doesn't, you can't blame it on a system, and we haven't thought about it whatsoever.
People blame stuff on the computer said no all the time. Like it's a famous kind of computer said no.
So if I mess up a lot, I'm being made redundant or fired, but what can you do if you put millions into product because I told you so and it fails? Who will be held accountable?
Hands up here, who has worked on a project that has utterly failed and not returned the value that was expected? How many people got fired? Okay, we got a half of one. It happens today. Like so many projects, in one company I worked in, they spent £1 billion sterling on like a brand new, we're going to do everything transformation, and wrote it off because it failed. And not one person left the company over it. It was over 13 years, so maybe people left. Okay, so let's just jump quickly into, what are you most concerned? Are you actually, because everybody was kind of 95% sitting on the fence there. What are you most concerned about? Is it that it's going to replace work that, okay, well, I can just I'll do a scribble on a piece of paper. Now I don't need a designer because it's going to create my designs and it's going to code up the website for me? Is it going to, computer says no, loss of autonomy. So it's going to be just the algorithm said this, and you know those kind of really annoying situations where you're just kind of being frustrated because for some reason something is biased against you. Increased surveillance. We've talked about data leakage, but there's also the facial recognition stuff. There's bio recognition, all that kind of stuff. Very easy to do surveillance. What happens, it's great if somebody has good intentions and it's all great, but what if a bad actor gets hold of these things and they could do bad things with it? Or it's going to kill all of humanity, which is kind of on the extreme end of things. But wow, there's 25% or 20% of people are concerned it will kill all of humanity. That's, I don't know, I personally, I'd love to hear some thoughts. My personal opinion is that it's kind of a little bit alarmist, but every new technology has alarmists. Like 5G is giving you cancer and all this kind of stuff, but I don't know, maybe I'm being super naive. So I'd love to hear, let's go with the kill humanity just because it's funny. Who has an opinion on this? Okay, over here.
I'm not talking like Skynet or anything, but it is like, I think basically, especially using it for research and stuff, we're just going back to doing assumptions again. That's not research, that's just an assumption which haven't worked before. Also, using it for like illustrations and things, artists and illustrators have been trying to get paid for their work for years and years and years and been pushed back, getting exposure instead of actual money, which is incredibly frustrating to see a computer doing it in no time at all. But the main thing, I think, is the fact that it's taking time away from you doing something, then you do more work. We're just making more money, and that is capitalism, and that is ruining the world. So, and it's already happening at the moment.
Okay, so I got to just separate two things there. So the blacksmiths who made all of the shoes for the horses that got replaced by the cars, was it a bad thing that they went out of business?
No, but you can also adapt skills to do that.
So yeah, you can adapt skills. So like I know I'm being particular, like I'm intentionally being kind of like trying to be antagonistic, but so if you can adapt skills and you can get rid of this stuff that the AI can do in seconds, then the work that you're doing should be a different type of work that should be higher value work, more interesting work.
Has it been?
I don't know. Has anybody with their newfound time had more time? When we talked in the last one, it was about product vision, product strategy. These are the things that product managers want to do, but probably backlog management. Actually, we should have done, this is what you want to do, where's your percentage of time? Because I'd say it was more backlog management than it was on the vision and strategy stuff. So, yeah, we have lots of people asking questions. Let's go here and front row.
Well, mine's really short. I'm horrible at voice acting, so when I had to do the voiceovers, I sometimes have a lisp, and it's just due to the fact I had braces and expanded my mouth. But because of that, I was able to use the AI to produce a piece of content that I was proud of, and therefore I could focus in on how the video wanted to feel like, what it wanted to express, what was the tutorial based on, and yeah, so it didn't limit me, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Excellent. And sorry, do you have a point here? We'll get back on to kill humanity again in a second.
Well, for me, I'm a product design manager. But I don't know if most people who are doing management are probably still doing some IC work as well. It's kind of a bit of a hybrid role in the industry. So bringing in, so what I've done with what we call Liberty GPT, it has helped me to be able to almost bring me back to a level as if I was a full IC, but I'm still doing all my line management duties. So it's been hugely helpful for me, massive, because that's just for the it's changed my role essentially.
And just to the point of, okay, so you're going to be not so much overburdened, but you're going to be expected to do a lot more now. So you can be an IC and you can be a line manager. So is that just people are just going to keep getting more and more burdened?
Yes, I guess that's the balance that they don't. Like, it's kind of the thing, keeping it a bit of a secret. It's a balance of that at the minute. So, the synthesis of research has been sped up massively because of it. they're not aware of that yet. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the impact I can have is greater for it, and I'm not stressed out from trying to do extra work. You know, so.
Do you find that it's actually freed you up to do some higher value, kind of less hands-on, just getting stuff done, and more thinking about it?
Yes. Yeah. Headspace. Definitely.
Brilliant. Anybody have like okay, somebody over here.
Going back to the creative points, everything that is in AI is derivative. It is stealing from somebody else's work and not compensating them for work. And so eventually we're going to get to the point where all we're doing is derivatives of derivatives of derivatives if we keep going with just AI and don't compensate the original creators for creating original work.
Is any work original these days?
Yes. There are original...
Is it not derivative?
Well, okay,
because an artist has learned
everything is derivative, but there are gradations of derivativeness.
So those spiral AI images that have become super popular, like they create these weird spirals. I don't know if you've seen those. Is that not so it's kind of an optical illusion that you can put faces on images, and there's all these optical illusions you can do. Is that not almost generative? Like it's a new form. It's not something that people were creating beforehand.
But it had to be based on photos or something beforehand that somebody else a human put work into and didn't get compensated for that work.
Yeah. No,
and
again,
I'm
purposely being antagonistic.
But I mean, back in the dark ages, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, the goal was to create automation so that we would have more time to do creative arts. And that most rich kids don't go to school, don't go into labor jobs, they don't go into line management, they go into creative pursuits. And so if artificial intelligence is taking away the creative jobs, that is killing humanity.
Okay, so we're out of time, and I don't want to end on there. So does anybody have some really, there's some good examples here. We have something at the last comment, so give it over to you here.
Yeah, thanks. I think I just wanted to add my concern that's actually not here, but it's related to kill humanity, and maybe it's like a watered down version, is I'm worried about kind of adding to the systemic bias or deepening divisions because we don't have the policy in place or the tools to actually vet the data that's being inputted. So I'm worried that we're just running off with it so quickly that, in a sense, it might cause more harm down the road. So yeah, that's my concern.
So you know the way AI is better at chess, it's better at Go, it's better at all these games. It's better at strategy games now as well, where you have to bluff against humans. So it can manipulate humans better than humans can manipulate other humans. So just interesting what kind of Pandora's box we could open with that. But I don't know, let's just go back one slide. What are you excited about? I think there's a lot of cool, interesting things happening. Yes, there's a lot of risks. We'll see what will unfold over the next coming, it seems to be every 6 months, there's another kind of big leap forward. So thank you for joining. I hope you found it somewhat interesting and hearing other people's points of view, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Rory, don't run away. We're closing, right? It's the end of the day, but it's easy to have visions of doom, as well as it's easy to have unrealistic hopes for the use of a new technology, any new technology. Think about, you've seen Oppenheimer, right?
I haven't.
Oh God!
I have a kid.
Spoiler alert. So, what are you most hopeful for AI in our profession?
What I loved about the internet was the opening up of data and the democratization of that used to be so siloed. Now, what happened was it kind of did this kind of curve of opening up and then closing again. I think AI has the option of opening up a lot more opportunities to people who don't have opportunities. So my only thing is, what can we do to keep it going like that instead of closing in the hands of just a couple of big companies?
Amazing. So please, let's give a round of applause for Rory. Thank you.
Thank you.